Welcome everybody to Sports on Tap. This is our summer spotlight, and we are just weeks away from the start of the high school football season. And with that, we've been very fortunate to talk to a lot of the head coaches that we for the conferences that we cover. So today we're going to be all Suburban League all the time for my cohort, my compadre, my colleague Sean Duffy with the Suburban League National Division and the Suburban League American Division.
What else is my title?
Oh, sorry, the director of hype. My fault.
Thank you.
The director of hype, Sean
Thank
Duffy.
you.
I need to make sure I add that in there. My name is Ed Dick. You are alongside our co-host, our technical director, Rob Troutman, Dr. Hoops himself, Noah Jacobson. Again, my cohort, my colleague, my compadre, and director of hype, Sean Duffy, and our EVP of social media content and graphic design specialist, Josh Duffy, is out on assignments. You are watching this live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap, at SOT Podcast, where this and all past broadcasts are and will be archived. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all future broadcasts. Follow us on Twitter. It's still called Twitter, I think, now, right? Isn't it changed to X or something?
It's X now, I guess
X,
we call
okay,
it.
I gotta update my script.
I don't know anymore.
I think we're still at SOT Podcast on Twitter/X, so make sure you're following us there. Check us out on Facebook at Sports on Tap, and then this new thing called Threads at SOT_podcast. Of course, check out our website, sportsontappodcast.com, for information about the show, and reach out directly to us at sportsontappodcast@gmail.com for questions, comments, feedback, and the like. We'll run through our sponsors here real quick, as we always do. We are sponsored by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, located in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. Call Ray at 234-284-5996 for more information, and check out his website, rayfelton.com, to create a personalized quote for home, auto, life, and business insurance. RRT Productions. RRT Productions delivers affordable, high-quality video services to all customers and clients. Check them out at rrt-productions.com for more information. Last and certainly not least, GV Art and Design. Check out gvartwork.com to find your favorite professional and college team and player-themed shirts and apparel. Use the promo code ONTAP10 at checkout to get 10% off of your order. Now that we got all that fun stuff out of the way, it's time to get to the meat and potatoes of why we're here. Later, we're going to be talking to Aurora head coach Bob Mihalik, but right now we're lucky to be joined by second-year head coach at Twinsburg after a 3-year stint at Bedford. We are talking with Coach Charles Saulters from the Twinsburg Tigers. Coach Saulter, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm a fan of your show. I'm a fan of coaches, so I get on and I watch all you guys' interviews, and so it's a pleasure and an honor to be on here tonight.
Checks in the mail. Appreciate that. Coaches, we're coming into our second season. We usually like to take a quick look back at last season. It was a 3-7 record, but that record isn't indicative of how well the team played and how and some of the strides that the Tigers made in 2022. So let's do a quick recap of 2022, and then we'll get into the good stuff here for this season.
Sure. You know what? 2022 was a special one, and I appreciated those seniors buying into what we were doing last year. And you know, it's always tough when you have a new head coach, you're going into your senior year, and then here I come with my own core values and philosophies. And, you know, we had entirely new offensive and defensive and special team systems last year. So, you know, our record, as you said, you know, won't be indicative of kind of the strides that we made last season. You know, when we took over a program that was 1-9 prior. And they had won that first game, and then they had 9 straight running clocks to proceed after that first game. And so, you know, last year we took over and we were in, you know, just about every game last year. We let some games, you know, slip from our fingers in the second half and that sort of thing there. But, you know, our kids really, you know, they bought in. Our fans and our community was very excited just to be in games and to, you know, have a chance to win it there in the end. So, you know, we're looking to, you know, take the next strides this season in 2023.
Coach, again, thank you so much for taking the time. I spend the majority of the time covering the Suburban League, and I was very impressed last year. Again, you know, as you mentioned, you were kind of installing a program, so to speak, beginning of that season. But as the season wore on, you guys really sort of came on a little bit. You were like you said, in games and things like that. What has been the message to your team and to your guys this summer? Kind of going into year two. Are you still in that install mode, or is it more so refining and kind of getting better as you know what I'm saying, like making that next step to where it's no longer thinking on the field but acting and reacting?
It's funny you said that. I just got home from practice a little bit ago here and went up and got a quick shower. And I was just telling our guys, I said the offense is going to be a lot more fun this year. And I say that because, last year we were starting just from the ground up. I mean, we had to figure out how are we lining up right? What are our base formations, our base run scheme and pass schemes? And now that we have all that down, now we can start to really get into the intricacies of what we want to do offensively, defensively, all those different things. And I was so proud of our guys because when we started camp in early July, I was going to take it slow and as I've always done. And, our guys knew our base stuff. They knew what we were doing. They knew how to line up. They knew what we expected of them. So now we're able to really add in and do some fun things with them and really get guys the ball in space and get our playmakers the ball more often. And so I'm really looking forward to what we have going on right now.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us tonight. It felt like you guys last year in a couple of close games in the Suburban League, but how important was it for you guys to get a little taste of the Suburban League and kind of get the feel of it from last season?
Well, I like I always say, I say that the Suburban League to me is really within, the top 5 to 6 leagues in the state of Ohio. I mean, just from top to bottom, the amount of coaching that takes place, you got to be ready to go every single week, honestly. So I think with last year, getting that experience and guys understanding what it takes to win, and in some games leading at some point in the game. So we really have 2 words. Our motto this year is 2 words, and that's don't flinch. So when you're in those, when it's in the fourth quarter here and you got a chance to win it, you can't flinch. You got to go out and get it. Because I'll tell you, if you're not prepared, you're going to beat in this league. And so I think, with the experience that those guys gave, or that those guys got last season, we're taking that into this season, and they understand, I think, what it's really going to take to kind of get up over that hump there to get to where we need to go.
Coach, what was the toughest thing when you took over the Twinsburg program? Is the toughest thing trying to figure out what players you have and what offensive and defensive system fit the players you have? Is that one of the toughest things, or is it just kind of finding the right coaches, or tell us a little bit about, what it's like to take over a program and where do you even start?
No, that's good. I tell you, everything you mentioned is probably listed in one of the hardest things you've got to do. So I had a feeling what we do offensively can kind of fit almost anywhere because there's a lot of different answers that we have built in for what we need to do. But I'll tell you, one of the hardest things is that really was the mindset of our kids. Twinsburg has not been very successful. Over the past, 10 to 12 years there. They have not earned their place in the playoffs since 2010. And I'm not counting the 2020 season where everybody got in. That was the whole COVID year and that sort of thing. So
Right.
It really was honestly trying to teach and trying to build into the minds of our kids that, hey, you can win games. You're just as good as everybody else that you can play or that we play. But they had been, not as successful, and they had some success. Don't get me wrong; it wasn't like they didn't win any games here. But
Right.
Twinsburg has been notorious for having very hard schedules. Also, too, we had the 10th toughest schedule in Division II, all of Division II last season, and coming from a program that hasn't won as much, really trying to change that mindset and instill in those guys what it takes to win, and also too, how to win. I think us as coaches, we can draw up anything on the board and do everything that we need to do as X's and O's, but you really got to teach kids how to win, honestly, because a lot of times they won't know. And that team that we play week 1, they've won a lot of games. And Coach Mihalik's a great coach, and they have a great program over there and a great culture of things. So coming into year 2, it's continuing to build upon those things to teach them, hey, this is what we need to do to be successful on Friday nights.
Coach, we've talked to many coaches, and I think this is the second or maybe third year of the kind of the accelerated offseason where, you start a little bit earlier and you get into that season a little bit earlier than normal. And I know we spoke with North Olmsted's coach last year who had a different situation, or last week, but last year he didn't even play. Weren't even in school for the first 3 weeks of the season. I don't know how that would work. That's like college. But are you guys kind of finding that schedule, sort of like, so to speak, when you're talking about like school and everything? Have you kind of adjusted to that? I mean, I was playing golf tonight, and I talked to a guy that I played football with just a little bit ago. I'm like, God, his son's starting 2-a-days, today, and I'm like, man, we were just starting our preseason camp when I was a senior, and that, I mean, 10, 15 years ago, but still, but it's there. But it's just odd. I always wanted to know, as this speeds, longer or earlier preseason, something you've had to overcome, and is there anything you've had to change essentially?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'll tell you, they started even as early as May 15th this year. We could get out on the field with kids, and we didn't start that early. And I think in Ohio, what we're battling is we're still battling so many different other things. We're still battling baseball and street sports, and then you're still getting into summer ball and still travel basketball and all those different things. So I think I think like everything else is positive and negatives to it. The positives are we can still craft our schedule to get the maximum amount of time that we need for kids in the summertime. But one thing I don't do is I try not to overdo it. Because kids have a lot going on, and sometimes they're still playing 2 and 3 sports in the summertime, and your body can only take so much. And then 2, kids still need to be kids. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I remember being a kid in the summertime. I didn't want to be at football practice every day. I wanted to be out doing whatever I was doing in the summertime, hiding from my mom, and she didn't know where I was at because cell phones went out like that. So I mean, it was great. So we try not to, but I think we're getting adjusted to it. But I think what Ohio is trying to make up for, in a sense, is that we don't have spring ball here. And a lot of those southern states, the Georgias and the Floridas and Texas and all those places that have excellent football, they have spring ball, and it makes a difference because we're coming into the summertime, we're going off of last season of what we think is going to happen, of the depth chart of who we think is going to be in what position. Where guys like that, they've already figured it out and scrimmaged and had a whole different situation. So it's really trial and error. I've been on programs to where we practice every single day in the summertime, and we went 1-9. And I've been on programs to where we adjusted and we were careful how we practiced and when we practiced, and we went 8-2, 9-1, and we made a deep run into the playoffs. So I think you kind of got to know what your program is and what your community is, and what your kids are doing and that sort of thing, and kind of take it by there. We don't have 120 kids on the team, so we can't practice every single day and just kind of drive our kids' bodies into the dirt, and then we have we can't just replenish that. So you just have to be smart about kind of what you do and how often you do it.
We're talking with Twinsburg head coach Charles Saulter. Coach, the non-conference schedule, you were replacing Willoughby South with Eastlake North, so not too far down the road there. And then,
Akron North.
Oh, it's Akron North. I'm sorry.
Yep.
My apologies. I didn't do my research well enough at all. So Akron North. And then you got Brush instead of Solon. Now Solon's going to be joining your conference next year, so they're going to be on your schedule regardless anyways. But you retain Aurora and you retain Copley in addition to the meat grinder that is the Suburban League national division. So talk about what the schedule's looking like for you. I mentioned all attention's on Aurora for the time being, for sure.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm excited about it. I really am excited about it. I think last year, our kids kind of got a taste of this is what it looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like when you are going against on a Friday night. You're going against a team that is established, that culture's been established, and their expectations are every year are the same. I said that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like in the offseason when you take it seriously, and you're bigger, stronger, faster. So I can tell you this, our kids are very excited for week one. And they remember last year, they remember that bitter taste that was in their mouth. So they're excited to go over to Aurora week one and give it their best shot there and hopefully come out and be very successful there. Week two for Akron. You know what? We were lucky to get them on the schedule. They were looking and we were looking and we were kind of looking to go in a different direction. Willoughby South, I think, wanted to go in a different direction. So, we decided to go with them, and I think it's a good matchup for us. And, after that, we get into our more suburban league, teams and that sort of thing. And it's a meat grinder every single week. It really is. And with Solon coming into the league next year, they had to stay in the GCC one more year. And so we were looking for week 7, and Coach Powers, who's a great guy over there. And luckily they were looking and they were available because, other than that, you always have, Akron Hoban that's looking, or St. Ed looking. And listen, great programs, great.
Right.
Great. If I don't have to schedule them right now, I can do without that and playing week 7. So I'm looking forward to it. I think our non-conference is highly competitive, starting with week 1, and I'll tell you, I think that game is really going to be a primetime game in the area. I think it's going to be a hell of a matchup.
Coach, Joey Pollock returns for you guys as starting quarterback, and he's only a junior coming back. Just kind of talk about his progression from his sophomore year into junior, and just kind of talk about some of the areas we are looking out for at Sports on Tap on offense and defensively.
Yeah, so Joey's doing a phenomenal job, and he came in, and we didn't have a lot of quarterbacks to challenge him last year on the roster. So he came in, and I knew he was going to be a good quarterback. I'd watched some film, and he has worked tremendously in the offseason. He's one of the hardest working kids in the weight room. He's one of the strongest kids on the team. And so, he's really done a great job at grasping the offense. He's got one of the best arms I have seen in high school football, period. And that's saying something, because I've seen some really good quarterbacks. So we're excited about him and what he's doing. And he's become more of that leader that we needed him to become. Last year, he was, learning, and he's out there as a 15-year-old kid on a Friday night and just trying to bring it all in. Now he's much more relaxed and really understands the game, understands what we're doing, and things are slowing down for him on Friday. And sorry, what was the second part of that question that you said there?
Some of the other players that we at Sports on Tap are looking out for, offense and defense.
Good. So I would say that, number 3, Steve Kamick last year, who was a dynamic receiver for us, he's back. He's doing a great job. He's got some of the best hands that I've seen. He runs great routes. He's a deep threat guy. He's doing a wonderful job. Peyton Jones, who was a tight end for us and a linebacker for us. He's going to be used more on offense this year, and we could do more with him. He's doing a phenomenal job. Jaden Dye, who's another receiver for us and also a defensive back. He's doing a great job. He's doing a great job as well. He's a deep threat guy. He's probably got the best hands on the team overall. Rob Cocroft, LeConte Matthews, Aiden Straczynski on the offensive side of the ball. They're doing a tremendous job at the running back position. And then up front, Zion Herndon's back this year. Zachary Wilkins is back this year. Joe Seitz is back. Cade McClafferty is back. All 4 of those guys started at some point in time last season in multiple games. So having those guys on the offensive side of the ball and on the offensive line is huge, because we all know it starts up front.
Certainly does, Coach. And again, we did not plan this tonight. I was talking with Rob yesterday, and I go, do you realize that tomorrow night we have Twinsburg coach and Aurora coach, and they're playing each other week 1? And we both looked at each other like, wow, that's a happy accident, but we could never do that if we tried. We have never been able to pull that off at Sports on Tap. So I want to point this out. We did not do that, but we do have Coach Mihalik on after this. But what is a couple of keys to Aurora? I know obviously you're still kind of in the beginning of this, but obviously any coach will tell you they're looking at game 1 and week 1, and that's the opponent. What are you guys taking from what happened last year and applying to this year? Is there something that maybe you wanted to focus more on, or as a result of that game, or is it just kind of continuing that installation and refining process?
Well, I think the thing that sticks out in my mind is physicality. I mean, if you're going to play Aurora, you better come, and you better come ready to play. Because it's not a situation where they're going to get out there and just try to finesse you and getting spread and dink and dunk, and you got a lot of cute stuff that's going on. They're going to line up and they're going to try to punch you in the mouth. They're an old school football team. They do things the right way over there, and I tell you that's the biggest thing that we're focusing on is physicality and being disciplined. I think that we've got great skill. I like our matchups. I like what we're doing right now. But in order to win that game versus a team like that, you got to be physical, and you got to be physical up front because it's gonna be a slobber knocker, and that's how they play football over there. They do things the right way, and we're really building to that, and I think that's the thing that we're focusing on the most, and that and just being disciplined. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. So we can't make mistakes. You got to do the right things and line up right, know what your calls are, make calls, talk up front, do those things that you have to do to be successful. And, these are the things that we're harping on the most when it comes to week one.
I can attest that lining up right is a critical thing, even when you're coaching 9 and 10-year-olds, because I found 3 or 4 running backs that were playing for some reason playing linebacker. And I don't understand it. But it was something. And one of them was my son, so
There
I don't know. So I can't say anything. But yeah, I mean, just that when you say line up correctly, that's what I've been dealing with the past 2 years
Absolutely.
as a youth football coach. So
absolutely.
With Twinsburg head coach Charles Saulter. Coach, you had 3 years at Bedford before coming over to Twinsburg. What are some of the things you brought, or some of the things that you learned at Bedford that have helped you out so far at Twinsburg?
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. When I took over year one, I probably was a little bit of a hothead, more than I am. I made a vow, guys. I'm going to tell you right now. I made a vow to calm down on Friday nights. I've made a vow to do it. I've told my staff I'm going to do it. They don't believe me. They don't believe anything I'm saying. I'm making a vow to do it. But you know what? I think the biggest thing, honestly, is, and I know a lot of people say this, but it's really relationships. It really is. I mean, you really have to, and with kids today, I know they say kids are the same and that sort of thing. Kids are a little bit different today. They don't talk and have those face-to-face interactions with a lot of people all the time because there's so much social media and so many other things you can do. My daughter included. So I mean, I get it, but I think really just learning it more and more how to build relationships with them and talk to them about things outside of football. All the conversations that you have with them can't just be about football all the time. You got to really dig in and really get to know people and dig into what they have going on inside. Because there's some kids that are showing up to practice that they got a lot of stuff going on at home that you don't know what's going on. And people assume that Twinsburg it's even more out in the suburbs, and it's not all roses out here. Some kids have real life issues that are going on, and I'd say that. And you better be careful. And I say this too. I get a lot of questions about, what are the things you better be careful? What are the things you need to do as a head coach if you want to become a head coach, if you want to do that sort of thing? And one of the things I harp on is you better be careful who you hire. You better be careful who you hire. You better be careful who's on your staff. And it's really hard to find good coaches these days, guys, because of the amount of hours and just what we were talking about, Sean, with the schedules and all of that stuff. It's hard to find good guys. But you better hire guys. You can hire guys that know X's and O's, and all that great stuff. That's fine. But if you can't hire guys that can talk to kids and relate to kids, you're gonna have a rough year with whoever that coach is. Because if you got a lot of kids that don't care for that coach, they're not gonna want to play for him. It doesn't matter what he knows, because the majority of my kids aren't gonna go play college football. Some are, but you better be careful who you hire and who you bring around your kids, and make sure that they can relate to what's going on. I say the third thing, not to ramble, is create a family atmosphere with what you have going on. Just 2 days ago, we had our first annual coaches and significant others night out, and we met at a coach's house, and we had some food, and we cooked out, and we had some games. We really brought the family aspect into it, because you're around these guys more than you're around your own spouse or your own kids or your own a lot. So, it's a long season. So you want to have guys that you can relate to and have a good time with, because I've been on a staff where, guys didn't really care for each other, and it's a long year.
Coach, I gotta ask you. You went to if I did my research right, although I really messed up on the North one.
You're 0 for 1 tonight, Ed.
You went to Canton Central Catholic.
I did.
When did you graduate? If you don't mind me asking.
No, not at all. 2006.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
One of my best friends from college graduated from there in 2002. His last name was Webb. His name was Tom. He had a couple brothers, like Brian and Kevin as well.
I know Brian and Kevin.
Yes. Lunchbox, as he is affectionately known as.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah, Tom's one of my best friends from college. So I was like, Canton Central Catholic, I wonder if there's something there. So very nice.
That's amazing.
Coach, we can't thank you enough for the time, especially as you're ramping up for the season. We look forward to talking to you and hopefully maybe some players over the course of the season as you're getting through it. So greatly appreciate it, Coach, and
yes.
Good luck this year.
Guys, thanks again for having me on. Again, I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of coaches. So, I'm going to watch Coach Mihalik after this to see if he said any little thing that will give us an answer. Hopefully he said one thing, just one thing for us. But thanks again for having me on. Anything I can ever do for you all, let me know. And best of luck with the rest of you guys' podcast throughout the season.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck with the season.
Thank you, Coach.
We really appreciate it. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.
And Coach Saulter leads his Twinsburg Tigers against the Aurora Greenmen on Friday, August 18th, at Aurora. As he mentioned, and we've been covering the Suburban League for quite a while. Sean, has been the guy, and the Suburban League, both national and American division. I mean, they are perennial. There's perennial powerhouses in both of those leagues. I mean,
sure.
For Twinsburg taking on, in a conference with Wadsworth and Hudson and Nordonia and Stowe, and that doesn't even count, North Royalton and Brecksville, who have admittedly been up and down, but when they're good, they're good. There are no off weeks in the Suburban League National Division at all.
But I think the main thing that I look at in both divisions, Ed, is if you look at it over the last 5-6 years, you've had your perennials, Aurora and the American, and Barberton's been there, but the same in the national division. There's parity, man. There's a lot of talent in these. I mean, these games are not blowouts. There's great games every single week. Mm-hmm. Some teams are down, but they find a way. I mean, hell, we talked about North Royalton, the 2020 year. They were 0 in the season, and then they make a run in the playoffs, and they just got hot. But you go back and look at all the games they played in the national division of the Suburban League. I mean, that's iron sharpening iron. That's getting you ready. And the way this season is set up is a team like Twinsburg, a team like anyone else, you want to start playing your best football towards the end of the year because a lot of teams make the playoffs. So I look at that and say, wow, that's a fantastic way to go. But again, look at both of these divisions and there's parity. And that's the fun thing about covering the Suburban League.
Absolutely, and I obviously don't want to forget Wadsworth. Wadsworth actually jumps back up to Division I now as well. From having to spend a few years in Division II. But let's move on. We are now joined by the opponent of the Twinsburg Tigers. Again, we did not plan that out.
We are not good enough to plan this.
So astutely pointed out. But we are lucky to be joined by in his 23rd season as the Aurora head coach. State champion in 2008, multiple-time regional champions. We are joined by Aurora head coach Bob Mihalik. Coach Mihalik, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure to be here.
Coach, we usually last season 8-4 record overall, 5-2 in the American division. We were just talking about how how tough the Suburban League in general is, in the American division as well. We'll get to that. Let's talk about a little bit about. We'll take a very quick step back last year to kind of set the stage for this year. So just briefly recap the 2022 season and how that's laying a foundation for what you got going on this year.
Yeah, we had a successful year last year, senior-led. The last 2 years, like everybody, we had tons of injuries, but we were 7-1. going into the Barberton and Highland game, we end up playing our third and fourth string quarterbacks against them. And, we probably would have had a tough go with our starter, let alone going with our third and fourth team guys. So, and that happened 2 years ago as well in those games. We went with our third teamer. So that's our goal this year, is to try to stay healthy. And that's easier said than done. And, make sure we're peaking at the right time. I think we've kind of peaked early the last couple of years. And, Barberton and Highland, they're going to be the favorites again. And I like to think we'll have a chance to make some noise in the league.
Coach, you're looking at your team, and we can kind of go over that. Kind of give us an idea of who the guys you're going to be leaning on this year, both offensively and defensively, that we need to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I'll start on the defense. We have 6 starters back there, and that'll be the strength of our team. Up front, we have 2 starting defensive tackles, Rocco Cortad, who's broken every lifting record we have in school history, along with Justin Burek. We have two defensive tackles return in our 4-man front. Enzo Catania, a D1 prospect at inside linebacker, is back, along with an outside linebacker, Jason Underfirth. And we have a corner, Dylan Crassy, and a free safety, Dom Trevisano, who's also our kicker and punter. So we got, 2 guys at each level of our defense back. So we think that's going to be a strength for us. On offense, we returned 2 guys, and they both are defensive starters. Jason Underfirth, our tight end, he had 7 TD catches last year, and Rocco Cortad will be a returning guard for us. But other than that, everybody's new. So we'll have to lean on that defense a little bit while the offense gets up to speed.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us. I kind of want to talk about the junior class, because I believe last year's JV team, I think, went 9-1. Just kind of talk about the upcoming junior class and how excited are you as a coach and your staff to bring those guys, kind of like that next man up mentality.
Yeah, they're a class that's won at every level, and that's not to take anything away from our seniors, but we're probably going to, start about half seniors, half juniors this year. We got some great kids. Lucas Manderbach will be a tailback defensive end for us. Tommy Tartabini will be an inside linebacker next to Enzo Catania. Ben Lakasic is going to be the playmaker for us at slot receiver and kick and punt returner. And we got a big offensive tackle, Matthew Copley, whose brother played for us a few years ago. He's 6'3", 275. So he's got a big job. He's got to replace Joey Arnold, who's going on to play D2 at Clarion. But I could name 4 or 5 other guys, but those are some guys that we're real excited about, along with our senior class. We think we have a nice mix to have a really successful year, again, as long as we can stay healthy.
Yeah, and Coach, you've been coaching a long time. Has there been any challenges, from when you first started till now? What are some differences? Because, you go through the year, obviously, there's some schools that have trouble, getting the kids to come out each year, could be a challenge. If you graduate a bunch of seniors, you might struggle the next year. Your team, every year, it seems like you guys are competing at the top level. How do you continually regroup with kids? You can lose a bunch of seniors, and like you said, you have 2 returning on offense, but I'm going to guess that the offense, once they catch up, they're going to be pretty dangerous too.
Well, I've said this for years. We're very fortunate. It starts with our youth program. We have a great connection with our youth program. I'm involved with them. And, they run our base offense and defense. We have clinics for them, and that carries over into our middle school where they run our stuff. And, I have a rule that everybody plays at least a quarter on offense and defense in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, whether you're the top guy or you're the 50th guy in the team. And sometimes that hurts our winning and won and loss record at that level. Sometimes I think that's a big reason why our numbers are so big. We have 102 kids, 9 through 12, which I think is pretty good for a Division III football program. So, I think that's why we're able to reload year after year, is because we have the number of kids that are in our program. And, sometimes you have to wait till your senior year to get out there on Friday night. But once you get out there, you take advantage of your opportunity.
Talking with Aurora Greenbend head coach Bob Mihalik, I can certainly vouch for that. I did not start until I was a senior. Besides the whole kicking thing, but most people don't count that.
We'll count it.
Thank you. We respect kickers on this show.
I would count it. They're a big part of the game. We got a good one coming back, a 3-year starter in Don Trevisano. He's won a lot of games for us.
Right, that's right.
There you go.
Appreciate that, Coach. Looking at your schedule, I mean the Suburban League American Division speaks for itself. You start out with Twinsburg. You got Riverside, who's been kind of on the uptick for a little bit. They had a very successful year last year, and then you replaced Euclid with West G. So talk about the non-conference schedule and how it's going to set you up for the for the conference schedule. Knowing that a lot of your focus is on Twinsburg.
Yeah, Twinsburg's a crosstown rival of ours. Over the years, we've gone back either week 1 or week 3, and we've been playing them week 3 for the last 5 or 6 years, and we were able to get it back to week 1, and that's real exciting because we're next door neighbors and kids know each other, and it makes for a lot of excitement throughout the summer as you get ready to play that game. They have a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. They got a great quarterback coming back. Great wide receiver, and second year in Coach Saulter's program, they're going to make a big jump. We know that. So they're going to be excited, as we will, and should be a big crowd at Veteran Stadium again at our place this year, week 1. So yes, that's our focus is on them, and it better be, as we're going to have to be ready to go. Riverside, as you mentioned, is a formidable opponent, another D2 opponent, just like Twinsburg. They lost to Menor 7-6 last year, upset Chardon, Independent State champ at the time. So we got to go to their place. They beat us pretty good last year at home. I think it was 32-21. So, we're going to have to play our best to go down there and stay in the game. And West Geog is a welcome addition. Matt Rosati is back there. I used to coach against each other, and he was there, and then he went to Perry. And now he's back at West G, and we were talking on the phone 2 years ago, and said we ought to play again, and so here we are. So they're a Region 9 opponent, so again, that's going to be a good test for us. So we got a good mix of those first 3 games before we go into our Suburban League schedule.
And speaking of the Suburban League schedule, I mean, you look at the way it's just set up for you guys is that you guys have, I wouldn't say you're an easier run of it, but I mean, obviously when you look at that, you look at Highland and Barberton back to back. And we talked about, I think just before you jumped on, how this particular division really comes down to those 3 teams a lot of the time. I know last year Talmadge really kind of threw some weight around. Copley's kind of one of those teams that just kind of depends on where they come out. But you look at the top 3 teams year in, year out, you guys are right there most of the time. Does that kind of help you, especially with the way the schedule set up, that you can kind of build towards having those performances a little bit?
Yes and no. Again, the last 2 years we haven't been healthy going into those 2
right.
games. And so it's a long season. And you mentioned Talmadge. That was a very physical game last year. Went down to the wire. We were fortunate to pull it out at home. Revere, they're going to be very improved with Coach Bobby Nickel in his second year coming over from St. Vincent St. Mary. We can't look past them, so Kent's got a new coach. Cuyahoga Falls has got a new coach. Copley's got a new coach. So you never know what you're going to get when you're talking about new schemes, new staffs coming in. So even if on paper, those should be games you should get. We've been doing this long enough as a staff that we know we got to prepare every week or you're going to get your head knocked in.
Coach, you bring back Brandon Lipins, who is your starting quarterback last year. Just kind of talk about the growth from him from last year into this year, and just kind of talk about how much he's learned from Matt Greer last year.
Yeah, so Brandon actually was our backup to start the year last year. Matt Geyer was our starter, and Matt had some injury problems, and then Brandon was able to come in, and Brandon got hurt. And we were able to get Brandon back for week 10. And he led us to a win over Revere. He led us to a playoff win over CVCA in a great game. He threw for over 200 yards. And then Geyer was healthy again, and we played them both against Canfield, and Geyer ended up getting hurt again early. So, Lipins finished it out. But Leapins is a true drop back pocket quarterback. Not that he can't run, he can extend plays and make things happen, but a lot of times in the past, Aurora's been a dual threat quarterback system, and that's not going to be the case with Brandon. We're going to be more traditional drop back and let the running backs run the ball. He's very smart, reads coverages, he gets through his progressions very quickly and gets the ball out on time. And that's the biggest improvement I think I've seen from his sophomore year when he started against Highland as a sophomore to last year and now this year as a senior. That ability to get through his progressions quickly. And he has a strong enough arm to make every throw.
Talking with Aurora head coach Bob Mihalik. Coach, 18 consecutive winning seasons. That's remarkable consistency. And you mentioned that a lot of that has to do with the youth program. Maybe besides that, what's been the biggest key as far as maintaining that consistency year in and year out, especially from you, from starting back in the early 2000s and maintaining that all the way throughout some of the various changes and really everything in 20 years?
Well, I think we kind of had a perfect storm when I arrived in Aurora. We were a little D4 school, and we eventually became a middle-sized D2 school until they realigned things. And we have a very supportive administration, and Aurora is a very tough academic school. We're always ranked high in the academic rankings, but at the same time, we have administration believes in you can also be good athletically, musically, and be a well-rounded kid. And we're able to do that because of the support we have from our administration from top on down. And we have a great fan base, a great community. Football's the thing to do on Friday night, like it is at a lot of places, but it truly is at Aurora. I mean, I see people in the store and stuff that they always want to talk about what's going on. I mean, we're talking like in February, how's the off season going on? So it's the thing to do. And our kids, grow up as little kids. We don't lose many kids to the parochials. They're there on Friday nights, watching us and say, hey, we run that play, on our fourth grade team. And, I think we get them early, and it's the thing to do, and we keep most of our kids in Aurora.
I mean, Coach, when you go to the store, do you have to wear a mask? Because everybody, you've been around so long, I'm sure they're going to stop you and want to talk football and know how the team's doing or I'm sure anywhere you go, you're stopping for conversations and you just want to hurry up and get in and out of the grocery store.
That is true, but lately a lot of people are asking me, like, how much longer am I going to do this? So I'm starting to wonder if maybe they think it's time, for me to get the heck out and move on already. So I don't know. We haven't had a deep playoff run in a couple of years, so it might be time to do that, or firebobmihalik.com might be.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's great.
And I was going to ask you, too, Coach, with other coaches, there's so many new coaches coming into the league. Do they ever reach out to you, or do you have coaches reaching out to you because of your experience and you've been in the league, a long time and you're a veteran? You kind of have been through it all. Do you have coaches reaching out to you and kind of get your opinion?
Off-season's a big time to, share ideas and, clinicking and getting together with staffs, talking X's and O's, talking how to build culture, all that kind of stuff. And I try to do that whenever anybody reaches out to me. Guys did that for me when I was a young head coach, trying to figure out. John Nemec at Kent Roosevelt was a great mentor for me. So there are no secrets in this game. Everybody's copycats. They what they do, they got from somebody else. So anytime you can help somebody out and hopefully grow them as a coach, you sure want to do that to keep. I heard at the end of Coach Saulter's talk, and he made a point. It's hard, to find good young coaches anymore because it's such a time commitment. And, you really do got to mentor those young assistants that you get on your staff and, give them some leeway, give them responsibility, and let them make some mistakes sometimes and not micromanage them. And, I was fortunate enough as a young assistant coach at Lakewood High School back in the early 90s. I coached under a guy by the name of Kevin Fell, who's a Hall of Fame coach, had been in a number of different places, and he did that for me. And I try to do the same thing to young guys I bring on staff.
Yeah, Coach Fell he was at Amherst. I believe he was at Elyria at one point.
Correct.
He's still, and now actually I think he's at North Ridgeville.
Yeah, he's their line coach over. He just won't retire. I was talking to him. He said, I don't hunt, I don't fish, I don't really have any hobbies, I don't golf, and so he's a football junkie. So.
Yep, nothing wrong with that.
Go ahead, Ed.
Please.
Oh, I was just going to ask, Coach, I mentioned with Coach Saulter and a lot of the new coaches, or not a lot of the coaches we've interviewed, this is like, I think, again, I may be wrong, the second year of this kind of advanced or early start to the season. Has there been something where you kind of had to adjust more so than you thought you would have to with how this schedule and how the way that the season has started or starts so early? Is there something you had to make?
Absolutely. I mean, they gave you a lot of leeway. In fact, the first year, you couldn't start till June 1st to get your days in. This year, they actually moved it back to May 15th if you wanted to. We actually had a 4-day camp soon as school was out at the end of May, right after Memorial Day, which was nice. We could get started in May. We always do that early and then tell kids they can go on a little bit of vacation if they want. But we were able to get that camp in early. Baseball was over, track was over. But at the same time, you got your 13 days you want to use, but you want kids to be able to go on family vacations. You want kids to be able to play some baseball and be a well-rounded kid. So you got to find that fine line of, getting the work in you want to get in, and at the same time not burning kids out. You surely don't want to peak on July 1st, right? So
right.
We did something different the last 2 years. Doubles officially started today, right? But we started really last Wednesday with our mandatory stuff because you're allowed to get those 13 days in. So we kind of backloaded things a little bit. We had our first doubles on Friday, had another double on Saturday when a lot of people had off. So we were able to start today actually in shoulder pads with our third day of acclimation. So and again, everybody does it different, but I do like the leeway to kind of tailor it to what's best for your team and your program. And we're still I think we're still learning with that and what's best for our kids and gets us ready to go August 18th.
Hey, Coach, what are some of the biggest, maybe what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned since being the head coach at Aurora back in the early 2000s that you've carried through or up until now?
I think the biggest thing is that I've learned, I've only coached at two places, Lakewood or at Aurora. Everyone talks about kids have changed. I really don't think kids have changed much. I think adults have changed. And, I think kids still want to be held accountable. Kids want to know what their expectations are, what you expect from them. And it's okay to let them know. I think maybe the way we let them know has changed a little bit, from when you guys played and when I was first starting as a coach. But I think if you love kids up and you let them know you care about them, and a lot of times when I was a young coach, you'd correct kids maybe negatively in front of the whole team, and we don't do that much anymore. It's more one-on-one. You're pulling kids aside, you're letting them know what they did wrong. In a positive way, because they want to please you. They really do. They don't want to screw up. They want to do things the right way. And I think if you go about that the right way and find out what makes a kid tick, some kids might need the proverbial kick in the butt, not literally, okay, proverbial kick, not literal, right? But the proverbial kick in the butt, or maybe the other kid needs the arm around the shoulder and really need to love them up more than the other kid might be. So. I think we've done a good job of that at Aurora over the years. We have a staff that's been together for a long time, and I'm so fortunate to have the assistants that I do. And we joke we finish each other's sentences as we're installing stuff. And I think our kids know we care about them. We hold them accountable, but at the same time, we only do that because we want them to reach their full potential, not just in football, but in life in general and in the future as young men.
Coach, obviously I know that right now you said you started doubles on Friday, was it? And you guys are kind of in the beginning. I know that all focus right now is on Twinsburg. Can you give us some of the keys or some of the things that you saw or have seen in film, or you're going to take from last year's game and really focus on coming up for week 1?
Well, we played them week 3, and then whenever you play someone week 1, even though it's an opponent you played last year, you never know. They could come out in something totally different and not show it in scrimmages, right? So you got to be prepared for a different defensive front, some different coverages maybe they didn't show last year. So a lot of times week one, you're not game planning is hard because you don't have as much data, to prepare for. You're playing someone week 4 and 5, you got 3 games, you know what they're doing out of what formations. Week one, kind of, it's a crapshoot sometimes. So, we got to be well-rounded, ready to go. We got to be able to defend the run and pass. They got a great quarterback, as I said, coming back that can really spin it. They're going to be improved on defense. We've always worked hard on special teams. We've got a great punter and a kicker coming back. And, as we're installing special teams the last 3 days, we spend, 35, 40 minutes a day on that, just installing one special team, a couple teams deep and, working on skills that are involved with each of those. And over the years, we think that has won us a lot of games. And, it can't be an afterthought. There's so many yards, hidden yards that can be won on special teams. And, we're hoping that can be a difference, maybe not just week one, but throughout the season. We hope our special teams play a key role.
Coach, you're creeping up on almost 200 wins now, and I know from what I can tell, I think that's the least of your worries. It's all about the kids, it's all about the program. I just got to ask, so, did you ever think in your wildest dreams, like when you started in Aurora back in the early 2000s, that you and you're in the program would be in that type of position?
I don't think you look at it in that way as like, I want to win X amount of games. I think you look at it as what you're trying to establish. Those first 3-4 years, we weren't really any good. We were pretty average, but we were establishing that culture. We had, I think my first year, we had 38 kids, 9 through 12, we have 102 now. So it was a slow process, and it drives me crazy when schools give coaches 1, 2, 3 years maybe, and then they get rid of them when they're just starting to get their program rolling. And, fortunately for me, they stuck with me after those 3 tough years. And, we were able to get over the hump, and we've been able to keep it rolling ever since. But, I think you work so hard early developing that culture and making some tough decisions sometimes when kids aren't following the rules of the team, or they're not doing what's best for the team. They're more of a me guy. And sometimes you make those tough calls early in your career as a coach, but I think it pays dividends down the end, where everyone knows what the expectation is, whether you're the best kid on the team or you're the last kid off the bench. Everybody is under the same rules and same expectations. And if you don't do what you're supposed to do, there are consequences.
Coach, we can't thank you enough for the time, especially and really in the midst of your doubles and your preseason prep for Twinsburg. We look forward to seeing how the Greenmen do this year. We'll sort of keep track of you guys, and hopefully we can get you on, or maybe some of your players on over the course of the season.
I appreciate it. And I watched your interview with Coach Gibbons at Highland. You didn't ask enough questions about what he's planning on doing on offense and defense. So,
you know what? I think we're going to get that same critique from Coach Saulter, who said he would be paying attention to see if you give anything away from your run.
He didn't say much either. I tried to tell him, but I'll be watching the tape. But if you end up talking with Coach Gatto at Barberton, maybe ask some more deep questions to him. I'll be tuning in.
Got it. I'll make sure to do that,
All
Coach.
Right.
Thank you so much for the time tonight. Have
Thanks,
a good
guys.
night.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Coach. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Have a good one.
You too.
He is head coach of the Aurora Greenmen, Bob Mihalik, as the Aurora Greenmen get ready for their home opener, their season opener. They are hosting Twinsburg, again led by Coach Charles Saulter, our guest earlier on in the show, to kick off Suburban League crossover play. There's nothing like a crossover against your neighborhood rival to start the season off, as we have seen in through some of the other rivalries that we know over the years. Avon Lake before they got in the conference together. The Twinsburg Aurora, it's the same. Yeah, exactly. So lots to sink your teeth in there. But these two teams are primed. They're ready to go. Coach Saulter is trying to get started at Twinsburg and really starting to build that culture that where he sees the team going. And Coach Mihalik is there from a culture standpoint. It's indisputable. I mean, he's got 189 wins against 67 losses. He's got a state championship under his belt, multiple Final Four appearances. I mean, losing to the eventual state champion last year on their 8th string quarterback, certainly nothing no shame there. Sean, just real briefly, I mean, what are you looking at so far? You know, just in hearing Coach Saulter and hearing Coach Mihalik.
Well, I think just the two ends of the spectrum. I mean, you look at a guy like Coach Saulter, who's in his second year, and we talked a lot about in that interview about install and refining. Whereas you look at a coach like Coach Mihalik, where that culture's already built. That's there. So now he's just plugging players in, and those players are working towards that. I mean, it's very interesting. We talked to Coach Elder at Avon. Same type of thing. You know, those kids are working towards their senior year. Yeah, there's a couple kids that'll play because of talent. I mean, talent wins out, right? But if you're majority a kid, I mean, speaking as a guy who, I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I played 4 straight years, and I was never a starter. I had 4 guys ahead of me on the offensive line that all went D1, and I barely played. But when I got out there, I understood what my job was, how to play that, and that's a result of good coaching. And you see that, you know, especially with teams that are established, right? But you also see that kind of kicking in for a team like Twinsburg. I think Twinsburg has an opportunity. I really do. I think Twinsburg, again, I think they'll go out and win the national division, maybe. But again, that's a tall order because you have Wadsworth, you have, you know, Stowe, you have those teams that are there every single Hudson, you know, all those teams. Those are tough outs. But do I think Twinsburg can be competitive? And that's that next step of that program is now they are in games. They're winning. They're losing close games. Now they're winning close games. You know, you look at a team like Aurora. They had to overcome so much the last 2 years. They still did it. That speaks to that culture. And you could run the gamut. You know, we talked to Coach Gibbons. I wasn't on that particular show, but I listened to the interview. You talk to a guy like Coach Gibbons. He understands that. But there's a lot of turnover right now in the American division. As he mentioned, I think 4 teams in that division have new coaches. I think the only remaining coaches for the American League, honestly, are the top 3, and for good reason: Highland, Barberton, and Aurora. But I think it's a parity league. There's talent all the way through there. I look for the Suburban League, I think, to probably be the team that, or the league that's going to have a champion, but it's going to be a lot of, you know, I'm going to need Professor Ed to help me out, figure out who's leading the standings, because I got to believe it's going to come down to a tiebreaker. Someone's going to have to flip a coin. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just think it's going to be so competitive, and that's what's great about high school football is that week to week, you know, we see that in every single league that we cover. And that's what I'm so excited about is now we're into the point where now we're 2 days of started, folks. I mean, we're in it. This is job one for these coaches. And for them to take the time and speak with a couple of Yahoos and Dr. Hoops on a podcast for even a half hour is we can't thank them enough. But the fact that you are going to be getting the best coverage in Northeast Ohio, and you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, what are we doing here?
It's just a rookie move. It's a rookie move.
It's a rookie move. It's, you know what? If you want to be, you're either going to be not informed or ill-informed if you're not following Sports on Tap, whether it's Threads, whatever Twitter's called now, Twitter X Twitter, I don't know what it's called.
I know, it's kind of throwing me off a little bit. Now I'm going to have to rework the graphics again.
We're on Facebook. I mean, I think at one point Josh is going to start sending out smoke signals. He's out on assignment. I don't know what he's doing, but you know, we'll figure it out when he gets back.
Well, let's put it this way: his toes are in the sand. Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, and rightfully so. I think all of us need to take a well-deserved vacation before we kick it into high gear. And when I say high gear, I'm 100% talking about our coverage. We will be the best coverage for high school football in 2023. For the following leagues: the Great Lakes Conference, the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Southwestern Conference, and the Suburban League. Ladies and gentlemen, that's high school football in Northeast Ohio. That's top to bottom coverage. You can't get any better. I defy anyone to do better than us. I defy it. No one does.
Yeah,
and that's the way it does.
Rob, we need a hotkey to turn on like the director of hype.
I want
like something that's gonna come up.
I want fire.
Like
I want
a hype
fire.
alert,
That's a
like
good
hype
idea.
alert on the bottom or something like that. Something that has to show on their graphic that we can't see through Zoom.
No, that's a good idea. I like that. And then maybe I'll have a
He
sound.
kind of has a tell. It's starting to get ramped up, so it's like, all right, here's the hype alert, and then everyone will know that they need to tune in for the next 3 minutes of full on hype,
full on sell mode. But yeah, I mean, hit the like button, smash the notifications button. We're going to be here every week breaking down these games, talking football. I don't know what more we need to tell you. And by the way, if you're not jumping at us to sponsor, you're missing out on customers.
I mean,
folks.
do you want Sean to read your commercial with the most hype out there? Because Sean is
Dr.
for hire as well.
Your commercial, Dr. Hype. That's what I do.
We got Dr. Hype.
Head nods are extra.
Hoops.
Head bobs are extra.
Man, he just. All right, so he's Dr. Hype now. Let me just change that.
So we have Dr. Hoops. We have Dr.
Hype. I like Professor Hype.
Well, what do you want to be?
I mean, this is just going to keep changing.
I leave it to you. I actually am jealous of that guy's name, Lunchbox, but that's just me. I like the idea of having a nickname like that. But I will take Dr. Hype. I will take Professor Hype. I'll take the hype machine, Sean Diggity Duffy. I don't care what you call me.
Wow.
But you
Sean
better be
Duffy.
You better be tuning in each and every daggum week to talk about the greatest football leagues in Northeast Ohio.
Well, and I do want to say one thing. They can go to our YouTube page. Noah was out at Medina, I believe today. So he's going to have a video on there that people can check out. And also, I believe he's going to talk to Copley's head coach. What is it, Wednesday maybe?
Yep, Wednesday night.
So Noah's going to have a nice little conversation with Copley football there. So that'll also be on YouTube, I believe, and our website and stuff. So Noah's working overtime.
Did they make you run at 2-a-days at Medina today?
Not today, Sean.
Did you carry pads? Yeah, do something.
Not today. But yeah,
he was running stairs. Noah runs stairs.
All right, good. I mean, stadium steps. Listen, we got to keep everybody in shape.
He's the best out there.
Round is a shape.
Yeah.
Sean, Rob, who do we have? Pun intended, on tap for next week?
We have Hudson coming on next week, Coach Go, and we also have Coach Wells from Rocky River coming on next Monday night. So a little Great Lakes and another Suburban.
We got some Suburban League National and the Great Lakes West Division joining us next week. Certainly look forward to talking to Coach Go again. And then I played football with Coach Wells at Mount, so I'm always nice to talk to former teammates who have ascended to the current jobs of which they have. Make sure I'm not going to try to recreate whatever Sean just did. So the Professor Hype did his duty. Let me go through the sponsors again one more time.
Oh wait, hold on. We have a special guest coming through. This is crazy.
What? Oh my God! He's from.
Oh man!
Oh, this guy!
What is up, fellas?
Wow!
Oh my God!
He made it.
Hey, I just want to say, great show. It's nice. I don't know if you can hear me with the crashing waves behind me, but it's beautiful down here, Surf City, North Carolina. I just happened to check in. Great interviews as usual. Full moon behind me. Very warm weather, and I missed you guys.
Yeah, way to rub it in. Thanks.
Yeah, way to rub it in, Josh. Come on.
You couldn't. Maybe I should have just left him in the waiting room.
That's what I would have done. This just aggravates me.
I'm convinced.
I gotta mow grass tomorrow.
I'm convinced that this is what the kids call flex.
He's flexing on us. I don't appreciate that.
Right there.
Here.
After that jellyfish.
I think it's a bold flex. I would probably do the same thing if I was him.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't blame him for that. It looks nice there. So what's on the agenda tonight? Is it just to relax there? Maybe you probably had your feet in the sand all day today. I mean, it looks like you got a little tan.
No, actually, it was a 10-hour drive today, so we're
Okay.
just just got something to eat. Just went down, found a couple sharks' teeth down at the beach down there. So we're gonna rest up a little bit, go back walking the beach at night, and then I'm gonna listen to more high school football interviews because you guys do a great job. I just love this show.
I mean, listen, it's coast to coast. It's the best thing you're going to listen to. I'll put it up against any podcast on the planet, and tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, Sean, I'll agree with you, Sean. It's the best podcast I listen to all day because I didn't listen to any, but it's the best one I listen to all day.
I don't know why I had to quantify it, but okay.
I think it's a little homage to Cleveland sports legend Les Levine on that one. When you enjoy the week out there, Josh, when you get back, we have to dive into this whole Twitter X thing because it's kind of got us all for a loop here. So we need our EVP of social media content to set us straight when you get back from vacation.
Well, listen. I may be on vacation, but we're always working here at Sports on Tap. We take no vacations. Someone's always working. So don't mind the thread. Okay. Don't mind the Twitter account. It'll be up there between everyone here, Noah especially. We'll pick up the slack. Don't worry.
That's right.
Sounds like some Boondock Saints there. Like they're 7-Eleven. They're not always open, but they're always ready for business or something like that. I forgot what the quote was. Regardless, so Josh, thanks for checking in.
You got it, guys.
Enjoy the week off, man.
All right,
enjoy it there. See you, buddy.
See you guys.
All right, all right.
Oh, man. You really get stung by a jellyfish.
Really can't. There's a cure for that.
Serious.
Anyways.
I know.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we're going down the rabbit hole there. All right, let's get to our sponsors here before we wrap it up. We are, as you guys all know, we are sponsored by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, located in 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. Ray provides auto, home, life, and business insurance and risk management. Call Ray at 234-284-5996 for more information, and check out his website, rayfelton.com, to create a personalized quote. RRT Productions delivers affordable, high-quality video services to all customers and clients. They also offer freelance services for large and small-scale events. Check them out at rrt-productions.com for more information. And GV Art and Design, check out gvartwork.com to find your favorite professional and college team and player-themed shirts and apparel. Use the promo code ONTAP10 at checkout to get 10% off of your order. As Rob mentioned, we will have Coach Go from Hudson and Coach Wells from Rocky River next week. So make sure you tune in live next Monday at 7:30 p.m. sharp to hear more about your favorite local programs. We'll get their thoughts on conference play and the non-conference play as well, as we're starting to ramp up for our high school football season. For Technical Director Rob Troutman, EVP of Social Media Content and Graphic Design Specialist Josh Jeffy, Dr. Hoops himself, Noah Jacobson, and of course my cohort, my colleague, my compadre, Professor Hype himself, Sean Duffy. You're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button to get those notifications. I am Ed Dick, and we will see you on the other side.